dark brown sepia, a very bright leaf green, a cobalt blue, and a little bit of rose madder. So the first thing I'm going to show you is with any pre-mixed green, you can make it look a lot nicer, natural green, by taking some of the brown into it. So you can see the colour changing on that one. So I'm going to be using that instead. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is get a little bit of a background in here and put some water on the paper. And then I've got some cobalt blue. Come in, create a bit of a sky. So where you want the cherry tree to be, I want you to leave that lighter. There's not as much blue in the sky that side. Leave a few little wispy bits of cloud if you want. Spread this a little bit further. I'm really just spreading this blue around this side because I'm going to have the cherry tree this side, so I don't want to take too much blue in there. If I just dab a little bit into the brown and blue together, what I'm going to do is make a nice grey. That just gives a little bit of a different tone in the sky. I'm just popping a little bit of that in. I'm going to swap down to a smaller brush now. So I've got a number 6 and I'm dipping into the rose madder. I'm just going to start to place that where I might want some cherry blossom. So this is going to spread out a little bit, which is fine, and be nice and soft at this stage. This is exactly what we want. So just keep dabbing back into the paint. This is neat paint. And applying with not a lot of water. There's a little bit of water on my brush, but I don't want it to flow too far. So this is my way of controlling it. Then I'm just picking up a flat brush and I'm going into that green that I've made, natural looking green, and then just along here I'm just going to create some distant trees. So it's going into the wet paint still. Just dabbing in, just creating some distant trees here. Some can be bigger than others. if you dab a little bit into your blue as well, you can take a little bit of that in towards the bottom. That'll make it a little bit darker. Go back into the green, just blend that through. So it's just giving you a variety of tone. The flat brush is great for distant trees. I'm going to go back to my number 6 now. Just come into a little bit of the dark brown. So this is my number 6 round brush. I'm just creating some really nice dark shadow at the bottom of these trees. Okay, I'll dry that off. That's nice and dry now. It's always good, if you can, to try and get a bit of a base in before you come to apply the trunk and branches. So I'm going to come onto this foreground now with a little bit of water, and then that green that was very bright that I mixed with brown, I'm going to use that first. So this is that natural looking green now. And I can just bring this across. And then as we come forward, I can dip into the brighter green and blend that through. So as we come forward, you get brighter and you get warmer or fresher. That always gives a nice sense of distance. If I pick up my flat brush and just dab into the blue, I can create some little shadows. I'm keeping the brush horizontal and spreading that colour across. If I pick some of the brighter green up and a dab of the blue, I can come in with that horizontal brush whilst it's still damp, pop in some foreground grasses there. I'm going to swap back down to my number 6. Just bring a little bit more dark. Just along that edge where the shrubbery is. Just till I get a bit more definition. Much more of a defined line. Dab back into the green if I want to as well, just to spread that through. Okay, I'll dry that one off. That's lovely and dry now. So I can start to work into the tree trunk and branches. So if I decide where I'd like my tree trunk to come, I'm just popping a little bit of water on. I'm going to use a tiny bit of that natural green to flow into it first. So it's helpful to see where you're going, and it's helpful because it'll give you a sense of light later. I started with around number 10 and then going to go to around number 6, and I'm using the dark brown. I'm going to start to place this in. So when the tree trunk's wet, you get a nice cylindrical feel happening with the flow of the paint. You need the paint to be fairly thick for it to cover what's happening in the background. So it's just about finding a really nice edge. If you can see the tip of your brush, that's always helpful to make sure you get a really nice edge. A jaggedy bottom, it just flows better into the ground that way. And then I want you to work up to your cherry blossom. I'm going to come through the cherry blossom, just creating a broken edge really. Just growing this side a little bit more so it looks even, and then I can come through and paint in the actual trunk. So as we're getting higher, we're going to get narrower. You can add a little bit of the green if you want to as well. Paint needs to be able to flow on the brush so it's not too scratchy, but it needs to be fairly thick to have that nice depth. Then we're going to flow branches out towards the blossom. So I'm still using my number 6, I rest on my little finger. We have cut this cherry tree off, so you'll have branches coming out the other side. Try to vary where those branches are going and vary where the point they're leaving the trunk as well. See, I'm just varying the pressure with this number 6 and I can get quite a fine line, but you can go down to a smaller brush as well, which I will do in a minute. Just getting that main base in there. And then this one is a rigger. So this is a long thin brush. It's fantastic for grasses and branches. Again, dipping into the sepia paint, and I can just flow little branches off wherever I might want those to go. You basically want to ensure you haven't got any floating blossom. It needs to have a branch coming to it. And some of these branches always come over and out at the top anyway. The more you do trees, the easier trees get. It's just practice. These nice fine little wispy branches are good. Bottom. So where you've got bits like this that's happened, where the flow of the paint's gone back in, it's quite nice really, but you can just adjust that by sweeping some paint through if you don't like it. If you want to create a little bit of grounding or shadow at the bottom, just extend that sepia brown colour a bit further and then just add a little bit of water over the top. It just will soften that in. And then what I can do is with my round number 6 is come back into the rose madder and I can start to just add a little bit more definition to this cherry blossom. So I'm just dabbing in. Not covering the whole area, just giving it a little bit more oomph. I want soft and I want hard edges. I can carry it on a little bit further if I want to fill an area more. Random dabbing. Just gives you that little bit more definition for the tree. It's all about creating a nice balance really. So I'm just adding a little bit more to create a really nice balance here. Nice tree full of blossom. You can always add a couple more branches. Don't worry about that. I'm just going to stroke in a couple more branches with my rigger, because I've added some extra. just dipping into water to make sure that that brush flows nicely. And then lastly, I can come in and create a few more sharper grasses. So if I dip into the green and the blue, and then I can come in with my flat brush do some bolder grasses. There's a few there at the front, and then I can do the same with the rigger. Get some nice long fine ones. Some grassy bits around the tree. Try to do your grasses in different directions and then you'll get a nice effect. And it's nice to use a couple of different brushes as well, because you're getting a different effect with each brush.